Greetings, folks. Jerry Hansen here from Success Builders, here to talk to you today about honoring the past, celebrating the future. What does that mean? We're going to talk some language, how we understand each other's language. We're also going to talk some generational things. But first, I wanted to how do you like my background here, huh? Is that inviting or not to be able to sit and look at that lake? Hopefully, you'll be able to concentrate on me. But in case you wander, you can just dream about being out there. Um, Honor the past, celebrate the future. It's about looking at what has come before us. Who are those people that are there in our corporations, our organizations, our schools? Who are the people who have been there a long time and have really set the stage for where we are now? And who are those new people coming through the door? Who are those young teachers, those young workers coming in with all their new skills and their technology and all of that stuff? They're our future. And so we're going to talk about how we can celebrate what they're going to bring into us without forgetting about what the past, bring those good things from the past. We're going to forget the bad things from the past. We always want to do that. But we're going to talk about what are the good things from the past that we can bring forth. And as we think about a staff, whether you're in a corporation, an organization, a school, when you think about your staff, you have probably quite a wide variety of generations, wide variety of people, and they all have their specialties that they bring to us. And so when we take the time to celebrate that, when we take the time to honor that, we are improving our culture. And culture is so important to an organization, so important. A positive culture will carry us a long way. And we as leaders are the ones that help determine that culture. We're responsible for culture. We don't pass that on, delegate that to anybody else. We don't expect anybody else to do that. We we are the ones that set the culture. And we have to understand that culture is important because expectations and beliefs that we set forth will determine the behavior of our staff. They will behave in a way that we expect them to and according to our beliefs. So it's important that we set that out there and we do it constantly. We talk about those things all the time. We talk about our expectations all the time. We talk about our beliefs all the time because everybody needs to know just what that is. And your behavior then is going to develop into habits. So we want habits that are built on positive behaviors because those those behaviors which develop into habits become our future. And so we just want that to be tight. We want all of that to be tight. So again, I am Jerry Hansen from Success Builders. I am a former elementary principal. I was a principal in Fargo, North Dakota at Kennedy Elementary for 6 years. Go Comets! I retired in 2017, and now I am doing one of the real enjoyable things I've done in my life, and that's working with other people, working on their communication skills, working on leadership skills. It's something I really enjoy. Before coming to Fargo, I was in Minnesota for 33 years. 25 of that as an elementary principal in about 4 different districts around the state, and 8 years teaching in a little town called Ogilvie, Minnesota, where I taught third grade and fifth grade and coached just about everything like you do when you're in a small school. So since retiring, I've driven bus. I have I've subbed a lot, and I've been working on uh, my my new business, Success Builders. To help me with that, I took training with John Maxwell, Mr. Leadership Guru. It was a special week that I got to spend down in Florida a year ago, March, learning all of his stuff. And one of those things I'm going to talk about is the DISC, and that comes right from John Maxwell. And my other Special highlight in the last year was 3 days in Dallas, Texas with John Gordon, Mr. Positivity. I mean, Mr. Positive. And that was a delight to spend 3 days with John Gordon and his staff, learning all about the power of positive leadership. And so I like talking about the power of positive leadership with people and the culture and what we can do with that. But let's jump into our Honor with the Past, Celebrate the Future. I'm going to share my screen with you. Got just a couple slides for us to follow here. Oop, I have to hit these two buttons. So, honor the past, celebrate the future. Let me get my picture back up here. There we go. So, do you run into this issue at work? Do you ever find yourself saying, or somebody saying, I know I did, why can't we all just get along? My building in Fargo was over 100 employees, 100 people that I had to supervise. So I would often go out to my secretary and throw my arms up and say, why can't they all just get along? And we're going to address that a little bit. Okay. You're asking these questions often. Why don't they listen? Why don't they listen to me? Why won't the young new people listen to our veterans? And why won't our veterans listen to those new people and all their good new ideas? Why do some people ask so many questions? Don't they trust me? Why do they ask questions? We're going to talk about that a little bit. And then when did company loyalty, which my generation, company loyalty was a big thing. When did that become a thing of the past? We probably have many people in our building who have been there 20 plus years. Research shows us that our newest generations, they switch jobs after about 6 to 8 years. They don't stay there. We probably are not going to see people staying in their same job or with the same company for 20, 30, 40 years like what has been the past because of just the way they think. It's a generational thing. Whatever happened to young people respecting their elders and wanting to learn from them? Okay, it goes back to why won't they listen to me? So these are the questions that we are going to answer in the next 45 minutes. And so hold on, here we go. Here's the deal. When we understand personality languages and generational changes, we can begin to understand the issues that are going on in the workplace because a lot of it is tied to these two things: how people communicate with each other, how one generation operates versus another one. These are all integral parts of the inner workings of our staff. And so we need to just see if we can learn a little bit more. Oh, this one's way too far down the line. Hold on. Let's go back here. How did that one get way up there? So we'll come back to it. Let's take a minute and look at ourselves and see if we can understand each other. Okay? So we're going to use something called the DISC. The DISC Personal Assessment Inventory, Personal Indicator Assessment. The DISC, D-I-S-C, is something that I picked up at my John Maxwell training. It's very good because it talks about behavioral tendencies. Wouldn't it be great if we can predict how people are going to behave in certain situations? When we have a DISC assessment on people, we can predict with pretty good uh, accuracy how people are going to behave in different situations. So that's why I really like the DISC. There's a lot of inventories out there, a lot of personality inventories. We know the Myers-Briggs, we know the Strength Finder. There's one called 16 Personalities. There's a lot of them. What I like about the DISC is that it ties so closely to communication, ties so closely to behavior, so that once we learn the strengths, the personality language strengths of people, we can really get a handle on what's going to happen, how people are going to react. Now, here's an important concept for us to learn about. We know what the golden rule is, right? Treat others the way we wanted to be treated. There's something called the platinum rule. Okay? The platinum rule is treat others the way you want to be, or excuse me, treat others the way they want to be treated. Talk to them the way they want to be talked to. Communicate to them the way they want to be communicated to. So if we do that, then our communication will be on target because we're putting it in their language, so to speak. If we don't use their language, if we don't talk to them and communicate them to them in a way that they easily understand, then we've wasted a lot of time. We're missing the mark, and we always want to hit our mark when we communicate. So platinum rule is going to be very important as we move forward. So the disc will help us increase your knowledge first about yourself, because the more we know about ourselves, the more we're able to deal with others. It'll help you to reduce conflict and respond to conflict. You'll know how people are motivated if you know what their personal language is. You'll know what causes them stress and how they react to stress if you know their personality language. And then you also will know how they like to solve problems and how then you as a team can better solve problems. So improving our working relationships by recognizing these communication needs of our team members is vital, so vital. We can facilitate better teamwork and teach productivity conflict. We can teach people how to sell their conflict if we know their personality languages. We develop better skills and we manage more effectively because we understand the dispositions of people and what priorities they have. And that goes a little bit into the generational thing as well. So let's look. There's 4 different personalities. We're going to talk about the D, the I, the S, the C. Let's take a look at the D. Now, if we were in a live setting where I was in front of you, I would give you a 1-sheet paper that you would just fill out, and we'd be able to determine pretty closely what your personality language is. Now, understand, we're kind of a combination probably of 2 or 3 of these personality languages. There's probably one that's a strong one, and that's what we want to look at. So we're going to look at the D. If you are D-wired, all right? If you are D-wired, that means here's what D-wired people look like. They're very competitive. They like to overcome the opposition. They're into results, all right? Winning, competition, success, all right? It's all about the bottom line for them. It's about the results. They love taking on challenges because they don't like the status quo. It kind of bores them. You know, they want to change it up a little bit. And if there's nothing exciting happening, they'll create it so that there is something exciting happening. They like taking action and they want immediate results. They want things to happen and they want them to happen fast. They're often described as very direct, demanding, forceful, strong-willed, drivers, determined, fast-paced, and self-confident. They don't lack confidence. So these people, basically, they like to be in control. I mean, they have to be in control. That's their mindset. They have to be in control. I give this presentation to junior high, middle school, and high school kids sometimes. And one of the things I tell them is that if you have a friend that wants to go out to lunch with you, and if they're a D, here's what you need to understand. 1, they've already decided where you're going to lunch because they're decision makers. They like to be in control. So they've already decided where you're going to lunch. And 2, they're going to drive because they want to be in control. Now, even if it's your car, they're going to drive. They do not like to sit over there in the passenger seat or in the back seat. D's can't handle that. They want to be in control. They want to have their hands on the steering wheel in all aspects of life, so to speak. They want to be in control. So that's what a D will look like. Okay. They're a little limited in that they sometimes lack a concern for others. They don't think about things that they say that might hurt others' feelings. because they're so focused on getting the job done. Okay, they are totally task oriented, and it's all about the company and what can we do and what can we do fast. So they get impatient when things don't happen fast enough. Um, they really value other competent workers. They value quick action, concrete results, and again challenges. So some things that they need to work on. They need to work on that patience a little bit because they do get frustrated easily, and sometimes that comes out as almost feeling angry or very aggressive, so they can intimidate people. They need to display a little sensitivity and think once in a while about what they're saying and how it's going to be received. They need to allow some deliberation. They're not very good at discussing things because they've already got it decided. They've got it figured out. Why aren't you listening to me? I mean, they've got it already under control in their mind. And so they're not always open to listen to other ideas. Um, they don't like details. If you're going to have a discussion with them, leave the details out of there. Give them big picture stuff. They are big picture people. They look through the telescope at the big picture out there. They let somebody else worry about the details. That's not their job. That's how they look at it. So when you're talking to these D people, when you're communicating, if you want to hit the mark in your communication, one, you need to give them bottom line. Okay, go right to the bottom line. Here's cut to the chase. They don't like a lot of fluffy talk. They don't want to talk about the ball game yesterday or how your family's doing or what you did last night or this weekend. They don't want to talk about that. Get to the bottom line. Okay, be brief in your discussions with them and focus your discussion again. So you have to plan when you're going, if you're going into a presentation or you're going to have a meeting with a D, you need to plan ahead to know just what you're going to say and how you're going to present it. Don't make generalizations because they'll call you on the carpet about that. Refrain from repeating yourself. If you if you are just going rambling or repeating yourself a lot, they're going to see that as a weakness or you don't know what you're talking about and you're wasting a lot of time. For them, it'll be okay, cut to the chase. What do I need to know? All right. And then focus on solutions rather than problems. Don't come to them just with a problem. They hate complaining. They want solutions. And when you're going to bring solutions to them, know that you have to bring a couple solutions. You have to give them choices on things. So if you want something from them, you need to give them some choices. But again, keep it short and brief, like our character from the Dragnet. For those of you that remember that old show, just the facts, man. Just the facts. All right, keep it down. Not a lot of fluff, not a lot of other stuff. So that's what we need to remember when we're working with our D's is that's the way they like it. Now let's look at our I people. All right, our second one, DI, our I wired people. Now you'll know the I wired people when they walk in the room because whoop, whoop, they're excited. They're talking to everybody. The energy level will probably go up because these guys are high flying energy people. They have lots of energy. They know everybody. They like to talk and they talk fast. And they're very convincing. They have that magnetic personality. They're very enthusiastic, warm, and trusting. And so these people a lot of times end up being spokesmen for different things, or they're party planners, or these are the people you want planning your Christmas parties and all your other get-togethers because that's what they love to do. They're all about people. Where D's were all about the job and the task at hand, these folks are all about people. Okay, you got to get them. You sometimes have to rein them in to get them to go to the task part of the job, but they are all about people. Um, they they are motivated by social recognition. They like to be recognized. They like group activities and they're really into relationships. They need people. They need people around them. These people right now, with what we've gone through with the COVID and being out of school for 3 months, for instance, these people are suffering because they can't hug anybody. They don't see everybody every day. These people are just dying inside because they need people. They need to be around people so that they can talk to them, so that they can motivate them, so that they can influence them. I stands for influencer. So they like to do that. Now, what they fear is when they lose that their influencing power, or when someone disapproves of them or ignores them. That drives them crazy. So you got to know that they're a little limited because they're so impulsive. Sometimes that gets them into trouble because they do things and say things without thinking about them. They're great in brainstorming sessions because they just fire stuff out there. Sometimes without even thinking, from the brain to the lips, there's not a thought stop sign there. Sometimes it comes right out. May make sense or may not, but generally they're really good in brainstorming. Okay, now here's something that we have to worry a little bit about them is they're very disorganized, so they'll probably have a messy desk, or they can't put projects together in an order or something because they're disorganized, and they're really bad at follow through. They'll promise you things, they'll promise to get it done, but they won't. I tell kids when I'm working with them that if you have a friend that promises to call you when they get home from school, don't be waiting by the phone. They're not calling. They forgot that promise the minute they walked out the door, but they like to promise. I tell parents that these are the kids that will promise to clean their room tomorrow if they can go to the movie tonight with their friend. Just so parents understand that they are not going to keep that promise because they have forgotten it as soon as they left. All right, but they use promising as a bargaining tool to get what they want, even though they're very bad at following through. They have note people. They have notes all over the place. I'm a high I, so I know this well. I've got notes on top of notes and notes to tell me where this note is and that note is, and so we can drive our people that we work with a little bit crazy. So some things they need to work on. Uh, is to research facts rather than just shooting stuff out there. They need to research facts a little bit. They need to speak more directly and candidly, and to stay focused for longer periods. Okay, that's a real problem I know for me is to stay focused long, and that's a common I think. And then that follow through, to make that follow through. One of the other things that I tell kids, I could walk into their bedroom and look in their closet and tell if they're an I, because that closet will be, clothes kind of thrown toward the closet, maybe on the floor. Maybe some stuff is hung up, but there's no rhyme or reason what's hanging anywhere. Where when we get to the C's, that C is very organized, and that C's closet will be organized by color, by type of clothing. If you were to go into the drawers in the bedroom and that C, everything is folded just like it came right off the table at the department store. So C's are very organized, whatnot, and our I's were just not very organized. We also are very emotional too. I tell kids that if you are a friend of an I, you know about the roller coaster, the emotions. You're up and down and up and down, and you just ride that thing with them. So they end up losing a lot of friends because we just can't ride that roller coaster forever with them. And so, that's the ice. But good people, great people to have on your staff because they're so positive. We just have to make sure that when we're communicating with them, we're very clear. All right. So when we're communicating with the I, make sure you share your experiences. Allow them to talk and ask questions and talk themselves, because if you are doing all the talking and they're just listening, that's not a good situation because they just don't listen very well. They listen or they watch for you to stop talking so they can jump in and talk. All right. Focus on the positives. Be positive with our eyes. All right. Avoid overloading them with a lot of details because, whew, yeah, I'm not big on details. If I hear a lot of details, I'm just kind of like, I'm out. Wake me when it's done. So, positive thinking is more than a state of mind. It's a way we embrace life. That is the eyes. Okay. These are your positive people. They're positive warriors. All right. Let's look at our S's. Now, Our S's are about 69% of the population, so almost 7 out of 10 of our people are going to be some type of S. Okay, so that's important to know. S's are very structured and like status quo. They don't like change. Okay, they're very slow to adapt to change. This is another group that the COVID situation is really tough on them, because in the school situation, we went from, March 1st, we're cranking along as normal. And by April 1st, we're in a whole new setting. We're teaching a whole new way. We've had to learn a whole new way to teach, and there aren't any kids around for them. So that change happened way too fast. Now, same thing's going to happen when we go back. When we eventually go back to school in whatever form that is, these folks are going to be very slow to adapt back. So we need to be talking to them now about that, because they're going to be slow to adapt back, because they just change is tough on them. But they're great team players. And they're into cooperation. And they love to help people and show sincere appreciation. They take care of people. They're our caregivers for others. So they like collaborating, and again, they like stability. They're usually pretty calm and patient, predictable. Again, deliberate and consistent, because they like the status quo. They like doing what they're always doing. So they are not very good decision makers. I tell the I give the example here that if you ask an S, where do you want to go for supper? They're going to say, I don't know. Where do you want to go? Because one, they have a terrible time making decisions, and two, they like to be people pleasers. They want to please you. And so they're very indecisive in a lot of ways, and very over accommodating. They'll just go with the crowd, and just not to make any type of fuss. And they, again, will avoid any type of change they can. They fear change, loss of stability, and offending others. So those are things they need to work on. They won't talk, they won't stand up for themselves. All right. But very loyal, and they value loyal and helping others, and they value security. So one of the things that they need to work on is adapting to that change, and any unclear expectations. They won't even ask if they don't understand something. They may not ask about that. All right. They need to expend more energy on multitasking. They tend to just one thing at a time before they move on to the next. They also need to promote themselves better. They're not very good about bragging themselves up, not telling how good they are. All right. And they are terrible at confronting others. Terrible. They just don't like to do that, because they avoid conflict. Now, consequently, because of some of these traits, the S's are usually who the bullies pick on. The S's are the ones that are bullied, and the bullies are probably what? What would you guess? D's. Yeah, a lot of times the bullies are D's, because they're into that control and that. So S's have to be better about standing up for themselves, expressing their opinions. They're usually really smart and have good opinions, but they don't often want to express them, because they don't want to upset the apple cart. So when communicating with our S's, we need to remember to be personable and amicable. Express your interest in them and what you expect from them. Tell them what you want from them, because then they'll follow that. They'll do what they're supposed to do. Take time to clarify everything for them. Be polite. Avoid being confrontational or aggressive or rude. Okay, because that'll shut these guys right down. Okay? They just want nice. They want everything to be nice. All right, so now let's look at our C's, our last group. I tell kids when I work with them that this is the group that probably will make the most money in their career, because they a lot of times end up being business managers, financial people, computer people. These are our thinkers, just like the D's are our thinkers. D's and C's are thinkers. I's and S are feelers. Okay, they feel things. The D's and the C's. If you are going to ask a question to a D and a C, frame it this way: what do you think about that? because they're thinkers. So ask them, what do you think about that? Don't ask them, how do you feel about that? Because they probably can't formulate an answer. They're not into feeling. Feeling how you feel about it's not important from them because they're so black and white in that way. But they can tell you what they think about that. Likewise, the I's and the S's are feelers. So we ask them, how do you feel about that? Don't ask them what they think about that because they probably can't put that answer together, but they can tell you probably quite easily what they feel about it. So something to keep in mind. So our C-wired people, our C's are very conscientious people, and they're into quality and accuracy, perfectionism, sometimes to a fault. All right. These guys are very slow to react to things because they need time to formulate answers, to research stuff. They aren't going to give an answer until they've thought about it or researched it. These kids in school don't raise their hands very much if they're a C because they're thinking about it. Plus, they don't like to look wrong. They don't like to be wrong or look bad. C's don't like that. They want perfection and they want quality. All right. Accuracy is important to them. So they're often described as very cautious or careful. They're very systematic. They work within a system. That's why they become business managers and computer people because that's all very systematic. Um, they sometimes can come off as being overcritical because if you don't agree with them, they might snap at you or they can't figure out why people don't think like they do because they always know they have the best solution because they've worked so hard to come up with it. They're creative and they're good problem solvers and they do a lot of research. And then when someone doesn't agree with that, they can get kind of perturbed with them and sometimes snappy. So they might come off as a little overcritical. But they also like to be alone a lot. They like to work alone and they just need quiet time. If you have a friend that's a C and they don't want to do something with you, it's not because you did anything wrong or they don't like you. It's because C's need that quiet time. They need that time to just kind of recharge and to think. Okay, so just know that about them. Um, they really fear criticism and being wrong. Those are like major issues for them. So, some things that they need to work on. They need to work on letting go and delegating tasks. Let some other people do stuff. Know that it'll be good enough because for them, good enough is not good enough. It's not perfect, it's not good enough. So they need to let go a little bit on some of that. Pick and choose those things. Um, Compromising for the good of the team. Giving in for the good of the team is something that's very difficult, right? Because if they think there's a better answer, a better way, they're going to fight hard for that. Just giving in to say, okay, that's, team wise, that's what we want, fine. That's very difficult for them. Joining social groups and social events, celebrations, yeah, they just soon skip those. They're not into those. They just don't like those. And making quick decisions. I tell kids when I'm working with them that if you have a parent that's a C and you want to do an overnight with somebody, with some friends on Friday night, you better be asking your C parent probably about Tuesday because they need time. They need some time to do research and to figure things out. You are not going to get a quick decision out of a C. You can't tell a C, okay, I need a decision quickly here. You can't ask them something at 1 o'clock and say I need a decision at 5 o'clock before you go home. That that will just put them into a panic and they won't be able to do that. Now your D's will make that quick decision. Boy, they can give you a decision within 15 minutes probably. So know that that's a major difference between these two. So when we're talking with our C's, remember they're into facts. They eat facts up. Facts and details. That's what they want. A lot of them. And if they don't get enough of them, they'll ask questions. They ask a lot of questions. They'll ask a lot of questions so that they get those. They're not into fancy pep talks or emotional talks or anything like that because those are feeling things. All right. So when you're communicating with them, be patient. You got to be persistent and a little bit diplomatic because that's how they think. All right. But remember, they'll be just one more question. They'll have just one more question, and it'll drive you crazy sometimes. So, in a to review all three of them, all four of them now looking together. Let me move this thing down here so we can see. So, our D's, they're dominant, they're direct, they're results oriented, very firm, strong willed, and forceful. That's our D's. Okay. A lot of our managers, a lot of our administrators are D's. They're not into that. Those D's are not into participatory management at all, though. They're running the ship and they're running it their way. The I's, the influencers, are outgoing, enthusiastic, optimistic, high spirited, and lively. That's what our I's are. Now, if we have managers, administrators that are I's, they do a lot with participatory management, but they also wear people out. They can be a little too much sometimes. Our S's are very even tempered, accommodating, patient, humble, tactful. That's our steady group. Okay, our steady group. Now, if you have an administrator or a leader that's an S, one of the things that you have a problem with is getting them to make a decision. They aren't good decision makers. They're good mediators. They like to build consensus and stuff like that, and they don't do things quickly. Everything moves at a pretty slow pace. Just like with our C's, our conscientious C's. Remember, they're very analytical, very reserved, precise. Remember, they're into excellence. They're very private. They're not going to share a lot about themselves with you, and they're very systematic. Okay, they like to be within a system. So given this, hopefully you've been able to figure out now which one of these or two of these you lean toward, and that can help you as you move forward. So as we're communicating with our staff, as we expect staff to communicate, if they know this stuff about each other, that will help. That will help them to listen to each other. It'll help them to communicate with each other. Okay, so you have all of these personalities in your district, in your buildings, on your boards, and as stakeholders and parents. So understanding the personality languages help us to understand and communicate more effectively with everybody we deal with every day. So here's a couple important statements for you that really sums it up well, I think. Let me go back. This is the platinum rule at its finest. So if you don't want them to listen to you, speak in your language. Speak the way you would like to hear it. Okay? If you don't want them to listen to you. If you want them to listen to you, speak in their language. That's the platinum rule. Talk the way they want to be heard. Okay? Put it in their language style if you want them to listen. Now, if you don't want them to agree with you, speak in your language. Okay? Put it in your language the way you like it. If you want them to agree with you, speak in their language. Okay? Put it in their language so that they can easily understand it. They're more likely to agree with you. Okay, some important things. So now let's look at the second part of this whole discussion on honoring the past, celebrating the future. The other part of it with our staff is our generational divide. Remember, different folks, different strokes for different folks. We have probably 5 generations in our organizations or buildings. You have those people that are, you might not have anybody over 71, but maybe some people close. But some of those upper level baby boomers are pretty close to 70, and they have a certain way of thinking. Okay, this group of people, the baby boomers and the builders, these guys are very dedicated, very loyal. They work long hours because they work till the job is done. That's their mindset. They probably all started work at a young age because they needed money to support themselves, or they look at a job as an obligation because they need to put food on the table, roof over their head, take care of their families. Go to the other end there now, our Generation Y and our Generation Z people. Well, they want money so that they can have, a house or an apartment and a car. They really want money so that they can buy toys. Okay, they're into other things like vacations and toys and stuff like that. That's what they want to use their money for. They buy a lot on credit cards because, you know, they just like to buy things. They're consumers. We're on the other end, we probably came up in tougher times, and so we were more cautious with how we spent our money. All right, so there's lots of differences. I like this chart right, this next chart. Oh, that chart that's way back here. I'm going to go back and find it. It's somehow got out of order. This chart right here, because on the left side here, um, it shows us those people that are 62 and over, how they're hard workers, they respect authority, they're into sacrifice. I mean, they sacrifice things in order to do the job. They'll stay late, they'll stay till the work has to get done. Duty before fun. Do the work before you go play. That's how they were, that's their mindset. That's how they were brought up. And they're rule followers for the most part. Okay. So they think that feedback for them is that they're doing a good job. If you tell them they're doing a good job, that's the kind of feedback they want to hear. And one of the messages that motivate them is that your experience is respected. That's a very important thing for us to remember. To honor our past, to honor these people, we need to constantly let them know how much we respect their experience and how satisfied we are with what they're doing. That's what they want, okay? Where if you go on the other end of the scale, these guys tend to focus on what's next. They're multitaskers. Um, they kind of tolerate having to work, but they probably rather be doing something else. Um, they see work as a means to an end. To fulfill the other things they want, they have to work to get money. Okay. They want feedback constantly. Whenever they want it constantly. And they also want to be doing meaningful work. They don't like to be doing piddly work. Okay. They want to be doing meaningful work. So what they like to hear is you work with other bright, creative people. Okay. The other thing they value almost more than money is time off because they want to go play. They value the time off. And in the middle, we kind of have both of those things going too. Those people in that 4361, these are your workaholics. These people are working hard because they want to continue to establish themselves, maybe work up the ladder a little bit. They're into causes too. So this group is a really hard working group. So they need to know that they're valued and needed. The next group, that group 29 to 42, you know what? The message they would love to hear is do it your way, forget about the rules, because they're not, they probably are the group that thinks the most differently than those way over at the right, because they want to do it their way. They want independence, they want flexibility, they want time off, things like that. One of the things that we need to get our folks to remember or to understand is people over on the left, people in my group, we missed a lot of our kids' ball games and programs and stuff because we were working, because we duty before fun. You get over to the right, those kids don't miss those games, and that's probably a good thing, but they don't. I mean, if their kid has a ball game at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, they're going to leave work and go watch the game. They might come back later or take work with them, but their priority is going to be on their kids and seeing their activities. I mean, just in general, this group, 4 o'clock, they're out of there because that's their generation, where the older group is going to stay till the work is done. The younger group is more by the clock because they've got other things to do. They got to pick up kids. They got to go do this or that. They're very social. They have a lot of social events going on. So, we need to understand that. Now, here's the activity that I want to show you that is very powerful, and it really brings all this together. Once we've taught them about personality, languages, and difference, and we've taught them about and reminded them about generations, this activity I like to do at the very beginning of a school year, like right away, first meeting or whatnot. And what I do is I ask them to arrange themselves around the room, stand according to number of years in our organization, for instance, or a number of years in education, for instance. So I'll have like the on my left side, in the U shape, the very first person will probably be somebody within the top 5 on the seniority list. Maybe they've been here 35 years. And you just arrange in order all the way around to that first person on the right side is going to be someone brand new, might be first day in the building. Okay, they're brand new to us, brand new to education. So once we have them like this, then I'm in the middle, and I'm gonna talk about the things that we talked about. I'm gonna honor our people that have been here a long time, and I'm going to talk to them specifically and honor them, but I want everybody else to hear. These guys have been here a long time. They've worked very hard. They've done lots of things. They've done all the committee work that you can imagine. They've seen lots of changes. And so they have lots of knowledge. They have lots of knowledge. We should be picking their brain because they've seen lots of things. And things that we come across, they've probably already had it happen 2 or 3 times, so they can help us with situations. So we need to pick their brains. We need to honor them. We need to honor the past because they have a lot of knowledge. But then I add in, but they're really tired because they've been doing this a long time. They've worked long hours. They've done lots of things. So they need some energy pickup. They need to feed off of some of the rest of you for energy, or you need to fill in the gaps. They've been doing all those committees so it's time for some of our younger people to jump onto committees and stuff like that. And so I'll use that with them. Now I'll go to our middle group, and one of the things we acknowledge about this group is this is a group that probably usually still has family at home, where the older group over here, their kids are probably all out of the house. Maybe they've got grandkids and that, but their kids are out of the house. This middle group probably has kids at home, and so they're very busy with activities related around their kids and having sick kids and all of that. And so we acknowledge that. And we also reinforce that we are all about kids. So if you need to do something with your kids, we're all here to help make that happen for you. We can cover for you if you have to leave and go somewhere. If your kid has a program during the day, you better be there because we, like parents, come to our kids' programs at school. So we want you to be there, and we'll figure out how to cover that for you because we're all a family. I mean, I talk a lot about that. We're a family here. Maybe we have 100 people in this family, and we're going to live in this house, this building together for the next 9 months. And so we have to figure out how to get along. We know there'll be some great spots. We'll celebrate together, we'll laugh together, and we'll cry together. And so we talk about that. Now I'll go to this last group, and I'll say, you guys are our future. You come in here with lots of new knowledge. You have lots of energy. You have lots of things you can teach us. So please do that. We are hungry for your new knowledge. But then I'll remind them, but don't forget, there's a lot of great knowledge already here. You don't have to do it all yourself. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Learn from those that are here. So honor that past, honor that knowledge that's already there. All right. So that's a great activity, and I call it honor the past, celebrate the future. Great activity for one, setting the culture for your building, because as I'm talking, I'm laying out expectations and beliefs, and so I'm setting the culture, and I'm talking to them about interacting and respecting each other and build on each other's strengths. And so when we understand our communication better, how to talk to each other, how to listen to each other, and when we understand the generational trends, just that's the way that is, and we need to understand that, then we have a better chance of having a staff that is going to be more cohesive, more effective, supporting each other, and it really works well. So that's what I do to help answer these questions that I talked about. So thanks for hanging in there with me today. This is one of my favorite topics that I do. So if you have any questions about that, please get in touch with me at jehansen53@gmail.com. If I could do anything for you, come to your school and do one of these sessions or something, I'd be happy to do that. Please get in touch with me. All right. Thanks so much and have a good rest of the summer. Try to get out there and find a beach like this and enjoy yourself. Thanks so much.